Alrighty, so today we're gonna finish off the review for match week number 12, and it turns out Heineken Rivalry Week. Remember how I said that it was over this weekend? Technically, that's not true. There's actually gonna be more Rivalry Week games during the midweek action, and then we also have a couple more Rivalry game heading into next weekends too. So yeah, it's basically separated in 2 weeks, and there are gonna be some rivalry that I mentioned that I was kind of surprised it wasn't featured in the first week will be featured in the second week of Heineken Rivalry Week. But that being said, let us actually get into the first game, which is the Houston Dynamo versus the Seattle Sounders. So, when I finished watching the game between Minnesota and Sporting KC, I was surprised that this game was still going on. And it turns out that there was actually a lightning delay in this one. Not at the beginning of the game, but really early in this one, in the ninth minute. But in the first 9 minutes, there was some chances for both teams. Tevez would miss wide from the header before Karaskia would head it wide and close as some good early chances for both teams, but that's when we get the lightning delay in the ninth minute, and the game wouldn't resume for about an hour. It would resume at 8:48 p.m. Central Time, and then as the game resumed, Houston would go down to 10 men. Because remember how I said the fact that yeah, red cards was a big factor, and it turns out it is indeed a record in terms of the 9 red cards that we saw in match week number 12. It's the most that we've ever seen in a match week. And this, of course, a red card on Bassi, which, yeah, it was definitely a red card. I mean, he basically put a studs up challenge on Ladero there. VAR, take a look at it, and yeah, I mean, when you put a studs up challenge like that, it's an automatic red card, and the Dynamo were down to 10 men. Morris then heads it wide from close range, but I thought, despite the fact that the Dynamo were down by, or they were down a man in this one, there was really not a lot of chances that the Sounders had, and you got to give a lot of credit to this Dynamo team. They were limiting those chances and showing that, yeah, this is a team that when they're playing at home, it is definitely not an easy team to beat. But we do head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, we had some coming together between both of these teams after Ladero was brought down by Herrera, and Ladero definitely took it a bit personal. The fact that he was getting kicked in this one because he decided to take some retribution by shoving Bear to the ground and also gets a yellow card in. Now, obviously, I know he was kind of frustrated about that, but I don't know if he. I mean, Nico Ladera is definitely a fiery character at times, but yeah, I didn't expect him to just kind of just simply shove Bear to the ground like that. But again, this is Heineken rivalry week. You know you're going to get some pushing and shoving and some reaction, and as I'll talk about in one of the game, yeah, it really blow up in terms of what it actually means in terms of a rivalry game. But in the 63rd minute, Karaskia tried to chip Fry, but he hits it right to Fry there before Clark would deny Rusnak in the 68th minute. Montero then puts it high on the free kick. Up to this point, it was still all Sounders. Like they started to create some chances and was pressing for the opening goal. And then in the 78th minute, the Dynamo would win down to 9 men as Hector Herrera would get his second yellow off the game. And you just kind of had a sense that, yeah, it was already going to be difficult for the Dynamo to hold on to a scoreless draw against the Sounders when you're down 10 men, but now down 9 men. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that could be a possibility, even if we have 12 minutes left. Morris then heads it high from close range, and really with the time winding down, I was expecting the Sounders pushing for the equalizer, but they also elected to bring the kids in the last couple of minutes to press for a winner. Now, I understand that they of course play a U.S. Open Cup game, and that there were some kids that were impressed. Brian Schmitz doing those U.S. Open Cup game, but I did not expect the fact that he was going to put the kids in and hope that they can get a win. And it turns out that was a great idea because one of those kids that Brian Schmitz brought in for his first career goal. It's Paul Rock, the kid that gets his first career MLS goal in the 87th minute to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead. On the other end, Barlow did heads it wide from close range. But yeah, in the end, the Sounders were able to hold on a gritty 1-0 win against the Houston Dynamo. The Dynamo perfect unbeaten run at home is now over after this game. Shots in this one, 12 shots compared to just 3 that the Dynamo has. No shots on goal for the 2 that the Sounders had. 6 shots off target for the 2 that Houston has. 4 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Houston has. And possession-wise, the Sounders dominate the game as really the Dynamo, they were just kind of holding on and trying to grind out a nil-nil draw after getting a couple of players send off in this one, as the Sounders had 72% possession compared to just 28 that the Dynamo has. That is probably the highest amount of possession we've seen a team had in a single game, and likewise probably the lowest percent of possession that we've seen a team has. But yeah, in the end, the Sounders, they just hadn't enough of that quality, especially again, I mean, I did question Brian Schmidt's decision. I'm pretty sure some Sounders fans were questioning Schmidt's decision in terms of putting the kids in. But if there's one thing we know about Brian Schmidtson, he knows what he's doing, and he definitely pressed the right button here, and it resolved with all 3 points in this one for the Seattle Sounders. But now moving on in terms of the next match is the Rapids and the Union. So out of all of these Heineken rivalry week games that we saw this week, I didn't think this was going to be the most heated out of all of them. I mean, no, this was a game where there was definitely some pushing and shoving, and then it just completely boiled over at the end. And I'm pretty sure the disciplinary committee is going to have a treat in terms of analyzing what happened in the latter part of this game. But first of all, in the first half, Blake would deny Cabral from close range before Carenza would actually win around Yarbrough there, but he just could not put that one on target. I mean, the angle was started to go against him, just could not put that one into the empty net. After a slow start, I thought the Union kind of woke up and they were looking for the opening goal. Flock puts it way high from long range before we have our first coming together between both of these teams with Lowe and Abuka. Definitely had some choice words. I mean, they were kind of chirping each other. That again will be a foreshadow of what we see throughout this game. But a couple of minutes later, a penalty was given to Colorado after VAR deemed that Rubio was fouled by Lowe in the box there. And after the VAR decision was made, more pushing and shoving that was going on between both of these teams, more this likeness between both of these teams. But after that, Connor Rona, of course, steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it. And the Rapids take a 1-0 lead. Unfortunately, they weren't able to hold on to the lead before halftime, as just 1 minute into stoppage time. Kai Wagner would score from Carranza and Bedoya to tie the game up at one apiece, and that was just kind of Philadelphia Union soccer right there. I mean, just a beautiful build up for the Union there, and let Tim to get the equalizer in that one. And yeah, the game was tied up at one apiece. That would be the scoreline heading into the second half. And it didn't take long for the Union to take the lead in this one. As 7 minutes into the second half, Carranza would score from Bizo and McLean to give the Union a 2-1 lead. And that, of course, came off of a lightning counterattack from the Union. So again, the Union, they're doing it all on the attack. They had that potency of creating a lovely build-up that leads to a goal. They can also go on the transition too. This is why that I've said about the Union and how yes, I know they have their early struggle, but now that they're out of the CONCACAF Champions League and now they look like a team that is going to be solely focused on the league. This team, watch out! It can be a dangerous team, and after this win that they have, don't look now, but they are already up above the playoff spot and back up to fifth in the Eastern Conference. In the 61st minute, Rubio did look for a response, but he was denied by Blake. Cabral then puts it high from close range, as I thought momentum kind of started to be swing back to the Rapids. They were looking to tie the game and creating some good chances, and the Union kind of started to sit deep. They know that this is a time for them to kind of seize that game, trying to play that road game where we see teams do. In the 89th minute, Lewis did try to stab one in the back post, but he just missed that one. I mean, he was trying to outstretch every bit of his frame to tap it in, but couldn't quite do so. And then Rubio would hit one right to Blake in the second minute of stoppage time. After that, we then get more pushing and shoving between both of these teams. This kind of started with Rubio and Glesnes basically chirping at each other. And then this is when it really boiled over. I mean, there was signs that things were gonna get ugly, and this is where it really got ugly because this all started when it was a 50-50 ball where I don't think Barrios and Blake, who was chasing for that didn't actually get to it and it went out of play. But yeah, Barrios, he decided to do a little little bit of a cheap shot, kind of shoved like to the advertisement board. Now, anytime when you decide to shove an opposition goalkeeper to the advertisement board, or even just do a cheap shot like that, you're gonna draw a cloud. And it was not a big surprise, or draw a crowd, that is, and it's not a big surprise that, yeah, the Union player, they definitely took that as a bit insult, because after Blake basically got up and had some choice words with Barrios, this is when it was on. I mean, it was a scrum. There was a couple of rugby tackle that we saw in this play, and after all of that, it was actually Galvan, the one that gets sent off the first time. He of course had a rugby tackle on Glasnes. Yeah, when you do that, that is definitely an automatic red card. And then they did go to VAR to see if there was going to be any other player that was going to send off. And at my mind, I'm just thinking, well, I think this. I wouldn't be surprised the fact that we might see not only more yellow card, but maybe a couple of guys that may get themselves a sending off or a marching order in this one. And it turns out only Bueno is the other player that got sent off. I don't know what happened to Bueno there. I heard some people said that he actually used his hand on an opponent face, which, yeah, that's the definition of hand to face, so that's obviously a red card. But either way, like I said earlier, Disco's gonna have fun with this one, because, yeah, there was a lot that they're gonna dissect, and I won't be surprised. Well, first of all, I think both of these teams are going to be fine for mass confrontation. I mean, the disciplinary committee and pro has been really talking about how strict that they're going to be in terms of mass confrontation, and I won't be surprised we're gonna have some fines that's gonna happen, but also we may have some suspension too. I mean, especially on Barrios' part. I mean, he was the instigator, and that I'm actually kind of surprised the fact that Barrios didn't get himself sent off, because I think he was involved well, he actually swinging at lows a couple of times. I mean, both times he didn't really catch him, but when you try to swing your opponent with your arm and trying to almost like fight your opponent, yeah, that's gonna be a red card anytime soon. So yeah, Barrios, at least at this point, pretty lucky. He only got a yellow card, but I wouldn't be surprised he could get suspended retroactively because of his action. But either way, it's gonna be interesting to see how the disciplinary committee will look into it, and we'll mention it in the news of the week a little bit later this week. But either way, after the mass confrontation was over, the whistle was blown, and I think that was the right call. I mean, there was no way you could continue the game after what we just saw, a melee that happened in this one. And yeah, the Union will be the happier side as that final whistle was blown, because they walk away with a gritty 2-1 win against the Colorado Rapids. Shots in this one: 11 shots compared to 10 that the Union has, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Union has. Both teams had 5 shots off target, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Rapids had. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Philadelphia Union has in this game. And yeah, like I said, this was a very, very feisty the affair, and that, again, if you would have told me this was gonna be the game that will have that feisty affair, I mean, I would be kind of a little bit surprised, because both of these teams not in the same conference, don't play each other very often, but I guess maybe there's that fiery sense, knowing the fact what happened when the Rapids got absolutely blown out by the Philadelphia Union, and that, yeah, they will definitely want to take it personal in this one, and in terms of kind of getting some retribution in this one, with a couple of their players kind of maybe stepping a little bit across the line in terms of how they act on a football pitch in this one. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is RSL and LAFC. So yeah, LAFC, of course, they finally got a full week of rest, which is kind of well, actually, they didn't get a full week of rest. I mean, they did play in the U.S. Open Cup game against Monterey, but let's be honest, that was really LAFC 2 versus Monterey Bay, and pretty much their entire team got a full week of rest coming into this one, which is a rarity for LAFC, considering they've been playing midweek games pretty much almost every single week for the past month or two. But yeah, they got a full week of rest, and it definitely showed in this one, because they wrapped off a relatively easy 3-0 win against RSL. Well, I say easy, but RSL, yeah, you know the old saying that when you don't take your chances when you're the underdog, yeah, you're probably gonna lose the game, and that's kind of what happened in this one for RSL because they had their chances against LAFC, but they just didn't find their shooting boots in this one. In the 6th minute, Tillman would put it wide from close range before in the 8th minute, LAFC would take the lead. It's Mahala Opoku. He scored from Ilie to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. This was just an absolute dime by Ilie Sanchez. I mean, Ilie, it's been clear that ever since he's joined LAFC, he has kind of looked like his Sporting KC self, and I'm pretty sure Sporting KC will really regret the fact that they decided to let Ilie walk. I mean, I know they let him walk because they think that maybe he may be past his prime that he was with Sporting KC a couple of years ago. Nope, it seems like he's still at his prime. I mean, that was just an absolute diamond, even a better finish there from Mahala Opoku. But yeah, that give LAFC a 1-0 lead. Rubin did try to respond for RSL, but he missed that one high before McCarthy would deny Ruiz from close range. And, give credit to RSL. They responded well. They were trying to get themselves the equalizer, but LAFC got a 2-0 lead not long after. It's Bawanga. He scored here from Vela to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. I mean, what else you have to say about Denise Bawanga? I mean, that was just not only a golazo, but he just makes it look so easy. He is a guy that I think it is definitely a leading candidate to win MVP. And if he continue this performance for the rest of the season, I mean, it is pretty clear who's going to win MVP this season in the league. But yeah, that made it 2-0 in favor of LAFC. We mentioned could be a contention for goal of the week because of how well Bawanga struck that from long range. But again, he just makes it look so easy and effortless the way that he struck. Like it's almost like everything he touches and every shots that he made, most of the time it's probably gonna go into the back of the net. But in the 39th minute, there was a shout for a penalty for LAFC not given before Sefuntes would had a shot that took a deflection but goes wide. But LAFC does have a 2-0 lead heading into halftime. In the second half, Sefuntes would blast it high from long range before Bawanga just missed it wide from close range. LAFC was on the front foot. They were looking to try to get the third goal. But Jacobson did hit one right to McCarthy before Savarino tried for Olympico, and this one was on target. I mean, if it wasn't for Tillman there to be in the front post to kind of clear that one off the line, that was in the back of the net. So yeah, DC take note in terms of how to actually defend an Olympico like what we saw. Or actually, was it the I know FC Cincinnati and Lucho Acosta scored that Olympico, but I forgot it actually DC. Either way, actually it was against DC United. Now that I think of it, and yeah, just take note of how to actually defend a potential Olympico with the fact that when you have a player in the front post, that's probably not going to happen. From what we saw with the Lucho Acosta Olympico, because this Olympico attempt by Savarino was pretty similar too. McCarthy then denied Julio from long range. RSL not only have woke up in the second half, but they were pushing to try to get one back. Rubin did puts it high on the header before Savarino puts it wide from long range. But then in the 85th minute, it was pretty much lights out for RSL because a penalty was given to LAFC after Vela were bought down. Or actually, no, not Vela. I'm sorry, Vera actually bought down Bawanga in the box there. I should have read that handwriting. That actually should be an R instead of an L there, because obviously Carlos Vela didn't bring down his own teammate for a penalty, but it was actually Vera the one that brought down Bawanga in the box, and it was actually Borgush the one that steps up to take the penalty. So I guess LAFC they think that, yeah, let's give everybody a chance to score a goal this season, and is Bragu's latest one to get a chance to do so, and he buries it. It wasn't the best penalty, but he did just enough to bury that one to make it 3-0 in favor of LAFC, and that would be the final score of this one. As the shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 15 that LAFC had, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that LAFC had, 7 shots off target compared to 11 that RSL had. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams, and like I said, RSL, they will be kicking themselves in this one, because if they would have took advantage of their chances, who knows? Maybe this game would have been as lopsided as the scoreline suggests, that LAFC with a relatively comfortable road win in this one against RSL, and also continue their they have with RSL, because RSL, they've only won twice against LAFC. They've had a lot of issue in terms of beating LAFC, and that kind of continue after this result. But moving on, in the next match, and the final match for the review for match week 12 is the Portland Timbers and the Vancouver Whitecaps. So this, I think, was a lot closer than the scoreline suggests, especially in the first half, where it was actually a really entertaining first half. 1 minute in, Bolly would hit one right to Takaoka, but he would be on target not long after as he scored here from Bravo. That actually is the fastest goal that anybody have scored so far this season in MLS, and I think that's one that Takaoka would love to have back. I mean, Takaoka, I don't think he had as good of a game as we've seen before, and that, this was a near post. I mean, Boley did hit, is it okay, but it's one that I feel like Takaoka should do better, especially what he has done this season for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And on the other end, Ivasic would deny Blackman from long range before Evander would puts it high from close range, and it was kind of end-to-end action. And I mean, it was one of the reasons why this game was entertaining, with both team creating some great opportunity. Paredes then blasts one into Washington State from close range, and I know that might sound like a sarcasm, but yeah, he basically, I mean, the way that he lifted that ball all the way up in the air, I would say that might have actually hit the athletic club right next to the stadium. And in other words, yeah, not a great moment there from Paredes, but what was a great moment 2 minutes later was the Timbers make it 2-0. It's Evander scoring from Mascara and Moreno to make it 2-0 in favor of the Timbers. This was easily the best game Evander has played for the Portland Timbers, and even winning the Player of the Week as a result of that. And you can start to see that he started to figure out, and that this is definitely great news for the Portland Timbers, that their guy that they pay a lot of money, and he's definitely have that trait of being kind of like that Diego Valeri type of player, but maybe he could even be better, especially with the showcase that he had in this game. Though, that being said, that two-goal lead was quickly back down to one after Vancouver would get themselves a goal back, and it was actually McGraw, the one that unfortunately scored an own goal here, and this was kind of ones that McGraw had to go for it, because if McGraw didn't actually go for it, I think one of the Whitecaps player in the back post would have would have easily tapped that one. I think it would have been, it was Vite, the one that could have easily tapped it in if McGraw didn't intervene that. But yeah, unfortunately, McGraw puts it into his own net. It was 2-1 now in favor of the Timbers. And then Ivasic would deny goal in the front post, and just like that, all of a sudden, the momentum was with Vancouver. Like, they were pressing to get the equalizer. It was a very open and entertaining game. I mean, if you're a neutral, you definitely got your money worth in terms of seeing what happened in this one. Goal would then pulls it wide from close range before Cordoba just miss a diving header. Yeah, that's one that Sergio Cordoba would love to have back. And I also thought that the Timbers, they were playing with a lot of fire. Like, they were very disorganized in their defensive shape. They were allowing way too many chances for the Whitecaps to have a chance to get the equalizer. And they kind of took note of that, because they started to get going again on the attack. Bowley trying to go for his second and goes for goal from long range, but just that one just missed way high before Takaoka had to deny Moreno from long in the 42nd minute. And after an entertaining and back and forth first half, Timbers does have the 2-1 lead, but it would quickly be back to a two goal advantage for the Timbers, as in the 53rd minute, Evander would score again. This time he scored from Jimmy Chara and Bravo to make it 3-1 in favor of the Timbers, and that, I think, kind of killed the momentum for the Whitecaps, because besides the chance they had with Julian Gresso try to pull within one in the 62nd minute, but miss high there. This is where the Timbers really started to take over this game. Nishgoda would hit the side netting, and I also thought that they looked much more better on their defensive shape. They were not allowing the Whitecaps to have those prime opportunity, and a lot of that also has to do with the fact that they were controlling this game, which is something that they did not do in the first half. Though Ivasic then prevent what could have been a second own goal, as Jimmy Char actually had an awkward header that was head back toward his own goal, and Ivasic had to be alert there to kind of palm that one away before Espria did had a header that goes right to Takioka from the corner in the second minute of stoppage time. But in the end, the Timbers with a 3-1 win against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Shots in this one 13 shots compared to 8 that the Whitecaps had, 7 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Whitecaps had, 4 shots off target compared to 3 that the Timbers had, no shots on his block compared to 3 that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 45% possession compared to 55% possession that the Vancouver Whitecaps has had in this one. And again, overall, very entertaining game, but for the Portland Timbers, yeah, I don't think it should be surprising anyone that this team is playing much better compared to the beginning of the season. And also that Cascadia Derby win against the Sounders. I mean, it's not a big surprise that that win has really propelled their season, because I would think that without that win, they would not be in the spot that they are in right now. And they're climbing up the Western Conference in flat fast, and started to kind of look like what Timbers fan was hoping it could eventually happen, which is them always kind of getting off to a slow start under Giovanni Savarese, but eventually they would turn around the season and have it and get themselves up in the standings in the Western Conference. But for the Whitecaps, yeah, their 8-game unbeaten streak does come to an end. I mean, they didn't play badly in this one. I mean, they had their opportunity, and if they would have just put away those opportunity, who knows? This game could have maybe be a little bit different than the 3-1 score line that they lost in this one against the Timbers. There you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 4 of these games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this review? And then, of course, I'm going to now do the preview of the 13 games that's going to be happening in the middle of the week in just a bit. But before that, like I said, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 4 games? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.